Hi guys, welcome to Jenetics Creations. So many of you have reached out to me telling me you don't know how to crochet, and while I am teaching in-person lessons, I am going to make this YouTube channel in hopes to help those who have busy schedules or people who might need to revisit some concepts and be able to do that at their own schedule in the comfort of their own home. Today's video I'm going to be discussing a lot of different hooks and yarn needles, stitch markers, and things of that nature. So stay tuned, let's dive in. So let's talk a little bit about the varieties of crochet hooks. As you can see, a lot of different shapes, colors, and sizes. I will go over my favorite, which is the Susan Bates hooks. And this is also called an inline hook. I've heard it called that. However, when I search it on Amazon, I always see it as Susan Bates hooks. I will include a link in the description. The most common ones I see are also the tapered hooks. They're more in line with what you see here. As you can tell, there are some slight differences, and here's why I prefer one over the other. Tapered hooks, they can be good about coming to a point. Sometimes these can be a little bit easier to insert into your project. However, I like the inline or the Susan Bates style because it goes a little bit deeper on this side. And when it comes to working my project, you will just see that it grabs the yarn a little bit deeper. So for me, I feel like it gives me an element of control, as I'm less likely to drop the yarn while I'm working a project. So for me, I prefer the Susan Bates ones. I also like the fact that when it comes to hook sizes, I like how they list their hook sizes. So you'll see the top one, it only shows size J. That's great, and most patterns, it's easy to find. However, I find a lot of patterns will tell you to get a 6.5 millimeter hook or something of that nature. And what I like about the Susan Bates ones is I don't have to Google what the equivalence is. It has all the different sizes listed right there on one spot. So for me, I like the Susan Bates ones. You'll also notice I have these larger hooks. These are great for a more open stitch or something that looks more like a finger crocheted. Also great for some of these bulkier yarns that are used for a variety of things like scarves and bigger blankets. And these bigger ones are great for that. You can also double up basic yarn if you want to create that bulky look without having the bulky yarn. However, these are made from plastic, while these other ones are made from aluminum. The plastic, in my opinion, does not slide the yarn as smoothly as the aluminum. So whenever I have the option, I stick with aluminum or a metal hook because the yarn slides just a little bit smoother. So it's like a smoother transmission, if you will, versus something that might be a little more clunky. And when it comes to really getting repetitive and creating that quick, easy flow to get through a project quickly, the metal, in my opinion, just tends to be a little more friendly for that. Do I need a yarn needle? Yarn needles are great, and I'll tell you why. For starters, every project will have a beginning and an end that needs to be worked in because you don't want to leave these out. Some people will have more depending on how often you change colors. You can get away without using a yarn needle. You can work these threads in, as you will see me do right here, where you are just working them in one by one using a crochet hook, and you'll keep working them into each stitch as you see fit until all of a sudden this is no longer visible. However, with a yarn needle, you can do that more quickly by simply pushing this yarn into the yarn needle as so. As you can tell, I use 2 strands in this project, and then you can go a lot faster by just finding the hoops and pulling through as you see. Yarn needles are usually very cheap. They are plastic. I think they make metal ones as well. I've only used the plastic ones personally. What I love though is that you have the wider eye. I would not recommend trying to use a sewing needle as the eye can get very narrow, and with these bulkier yarns, I'm only using a 4-weighted yarn, which is pretty average, but yarns can get more bulky. It will be harder to work it through the eye of that needle in order to use it as you need. Lastly, let's talk stitch markers. I personally am notorious for not counting my stitches. I know that is a big no-no in crochet world. However, I'm bad at it. I usually go back and will double count if it's a difficult pattern or something more intricate, or I will just be very cognizant of what my beginning stitch and my end stitch look like, and that is how I keep my edges even. However, if you are a stitch counter and you are working a very big project, you may want to use a stitch marker. I know that they are used for a variety of other reasons too. Different ways you can do that. You can use another color yarn and just loop it through the stitch that you are marking. I know they sell some stitch markers that are fairly cheap. They look either like a squiggly version of a yarn needle, or they might look like a tiny plastic safety pin. And so you will just count your stitches, mark wherever you need to mark. At least then, if you get easily distracted and someone interrupts your count, you don't have to count the full row. You can just say, I marked 50. I'm going to move on from 50 and count from there. Personally, I like to use these sewing clips. They have a lot of tension. They come in a packet. I think I got like 50 for a few bucks, and I'll include a link in the description below. But they have a lot of tension. They're designed to hold fabric together for when you're sewing, so they work great for holding that stitch that I want to mark. And as you can see, they hold on pretty tight. So if my project falls, if it is in transportation, it stays put and it's marking that stitch very nicely where I left off. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I will be doing more videos. The next one I have planned is going to talk about the varieties of yarn, the different shapes and sizes, and the cheats on the package that can help guide you in your project, selecting the right hook and things like that. If there's something that you specifically want me to cover, please say so in the comments below. I'm new to this YouTube thing and I'm really trying to make it for you all so you can all get crafty. I will see you in the next video. Hit subscribe and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.